Welcome everybody. We are live. Second time this week, folks. It's Sunday. It's Sunday. Did you guys get outside? I did. And I have lipstick on. Yes. I didn't want to put a whole face on. But, you know, they say, slap some lipstick on, you're going to be okay, girl. So, I'm not going to talk about current events or updates or events or anything like that because I have a lot of content and we need to get right into it. So I apologize for being late. Maybe Sundays at 6 is not going to be the right time, but if it's on replay, so be it. It is what it is, folks. So we talked mostly about the introduction last week, and I want to make something crystal clear. I have started this book. I wrote down January 14th of 21. So, and I haven't finished it. But I'm a journaler. If you follow me, you know that I promote and that I practice. It's part of my principle. It's just a big part of my life. I have not been journaling a lot lately because I am in the process of creating my own oracle deck. So if I do journal, it's it is for a specific purpose, like I'm called to. I'm like, okay, you gotta write that down, Tanya. But normally my journal routine is, every day. And I add in their gratitude. Travis Tomasevich is watching. Oh, good. So I want to, and Mark Tomasevich is watching. But I want to make something crystal clear that I did this, I started it, and I am doing it with you. Like, I am not just reading stuff from the book. I am, but that's not what I am just doing. Like, I spent probably 3 hours going through the book and starting it over, like doing the homework and writing down stuff now in 2023. And using what I wrote down in 2021 to kind of gauge my progress. So I'm not just reading from the book. I am going to read from the book, but I have my notes. So I just want to make that crystal clear. So we're going to start out the class, the workshop. Wait for a couple people to get on here more. I'm pulling 3 cards. I don't know if I'm going to pull them right away, but I'm going to pull like an intro card. This is like a welcoming card. I know that I do not need to avoid making others uncomfortable by playing small. I am taking up space. What does that mean to you guys? I know that I do not need to avoid making others uncomfortable by playing small. Have we had to dial it down, folks, because somebody is intimidated by our energies or by our self-esteem? I have been told that my self-esteem was annoying at one time. And you know what? It only made me appreciate it more because by that person telling me that, I knew that it was out there. I knew that it was at that quantity. So it didn't stop me. It didn't stop me. I am taking up space. Good space, though. I like that. That's very interesting. All right, so that'll set it. That'll set maybe the theme tonight. I am going to go ahead and pull a card. I shuffled these. I cleared them. I'm going to pull a card from the Elemental Oracle card deck. I'm going to shuffle one more time. Hopefully some more people will come on here. But that's okay if they don't. It's all on replay. Okay. Ooh, ignition, fire. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, that kind of goes along with not being small. Not being small at all. Let's see what I get off of it. Oh, lots of stars. The number 8. She kind of reminds me of like a warrior. Oh, okay. So, I've been watching this TV series called For Love and Death, and I can't remember her name, but the girl from WandaVision is in there. And so WandaVision, she does this thing with her hands, and so I can't help but be drawn to the WandaVision. I turned my fan on, folks. So, okay. So, because I'm drawn to the WandaVision, she kind of abused her power. If you've watched WandaVision, and there was another movie after that, but she kind of abused it. So be careful that you don't, abuse. Okay, that's very interesting, because what I was getting before I went on live was that self-love, and I wanted to put this in somewhere else, but it's making sense that I need to put it in now. So self-love does not replace the love that we need from others. It's part of the equation. It makes up the whole unit of that we need to love and be loved. It's part of the equation. It does not replace it. I just want to have that. So that's what this is saying to me. It's like, don't expect by doing the self-love that it's going to replace the love from others, because that's not true. But for those people pleasers out there, we have to be mindful of how often we, and sometimes it's subconscious, that we are filling other people's cups. And it should be a joint effort. Like, you should be practicing filling your cup even amount with allowing, because that's sometimes hard for people to do, is allow to be loved. It's sometimes hard for people to love and be loved. Does that make sense? Like, you're thinking, I know there's some of you are thinking, you're like, how can somebody not want to be loved? Well, they want to, they just don't allow it because they won't trust other people. And we'll go into that. That's a whole section of obstacles of self-love. So that's what I'm getting out of this. That's my interpretation. Should we see what the book interprets? Because and look, I come right to the page. Live your passion. Allow your spirit to drive you forward. Don't overthink the situation. Now is the time to innovate and take action. Be a lighthouse for others, or find yourself a mentor. It is said that Prometheus was asked by Zeus to create man. Humans were formed with clay made of water and earth and were fashioned in the god's image. Unlike other animals, however, these new beings seemed quite helpless. No fur, no big teeth, few skills. Prometheus felt sorry for mankind and asked Zeus if fire could be given to them. Prometheus knew that fire would allow men to grow and thrive and would be totally transformational to their life and survival. Stealing it meant that all art and skills would only blossom with fire, and mankind would grow stronger with fire when used for cooking and warmth. Oh, wow. Prometheus crept into Zeus's own hearth and, lighting a small fire within a stalk of giant fennel, took the fire and escaped. He gave mankind the small fiery spark that all others have been lit from. While man prospered, Prometheus did not. So precious was fire to Zeus that Prometheus was given the grisly perpetual punishment of Zeus's own eagle eating out his liver daily, having it to grow back overnight, and then the whole thing starting again the next day. Ooh, wow, that's like a really bad Groundhog Day. Fire is an element of profound significance. We cook with it, transforming things from inedible to edible. It provides light and protection, and it was the difference between freezing and not freezing. We burn incenses and plant medicines for pleasure, healing, and spiritual significance. We hold fire so sacred that perpetual flames were part of the honoring of many deities throughout time the world over. There's a little bird outside. It's birds now are my shiny squirrels. I'm sorry. The fire element is the one that motivates and inspires us. It is action oriented and light. So those who like to utilize the fire element are innovative and quick thinkers, and they get things done. Fire is linked with love and passion, and is often used as an element of magic and spells to attract such a partner. It traditionally corresponds with the element of east, although in the southern hemisphere it is aligned with north. Interesting. So fire, the element of fire, corresponds with the element of the east, although in the southern hemisphere it is aligned with north. Very, very interesting. Okay. I like that. I like that. I like that. Okay. So I took some notes. I'm going to speak from the book, from the heart, from the hip. If something resonates with you, keep it, congratulate it, embrace it, be grateful for it. If it doesn't, then you leave it. You leave it for someone else. Okay, so we went through the introduction, and your assignment was to do, I believe, to kind of look at pages 2 and 3. And the question was, what has brought you to this path? What has called to you to buy the book, partake in this free workshop? And I'm going to read you what I wrote. So back in 2021, I wrote seek guidance. Okay, well, that was kind of vague, but maybe that's really what I needed. Maybe that's really what I needed back then. Today I wrote, I need to love myself before I can love others and let others love me. I need to rely on myself to bring myself happiness. And then the second part is, why is this journey important to you? And I wrote down that I feel I am missing something, and I embrace new tools and ideas to find it. And I wrote down that was back in 2021. And today I wrote down, I feel I am still missing a very important piece of the puzzle. So then on page 3, it asks you, what do you hope to encounter along the way? And obviously it was to find what I feel is missing most in my life. And today I wrote, to explore and reveal new things about myself and my journey, and how to be more patient with my emotions and others' emotions and reactions, because I am this energy, and since we've been on this journey and through menopause and anxiety, my body has literally gone through like a 180. I'm sleeping different, eating different, working out different. There's so many things that are different from myself from 2 years ago. So that's my goal, and is just to like kind of be able to really control my emotions without expecting my emotions to I don't need to react on them. Like they're emotions. And for me, I'm an expressor and I'm an empath. So I get a lot coming in, and I get anxiety, and I need to get it out. And so I express my emotions. So I wrote down some notes, and we're going to talk now. On page 4 is chapter 1, and it says, self-love is the active practice of accepting, caring for, and encouraging oneself. And I wrote down there are no wrong or right answers. So when you are doing your homework or you're following along with me, remember there are no wrong or right answers. And we talked a lot, I said this already before, about the need to love and be loved. And we need love from ourselves. Appreciate you for you. Self-growth is predominantly dependent on personal effort. I had that written down from a year ago, and it still is very, very important. What is self-love to me? I think that's a really good question off the bat if you don't do those other questions. And I'm going to read to you, or I'm going to advise you to ask yourself these questions. What is self-love to me? And am I providing that to myself? And if so, what works? If you are providing yourself self-love in your definition, okay? How you recognize it. And we'll get on to that because like there's a very important message. What is it to you? How do you recognize when it's working and when it's not working? What do you recognize? Is it in your body? Can you maybe tell it in others sometimes? If you're an empath, what works for you and what doesn't? And what's easy and what's not? And if it's not, what are some of the reasons that you don't love yourself? So those are some of the questions that I recommend that they just kind of came to me when I was reading this. So the question here on page 5, if you're following along, is just as this journey of self-love differs from person to person, the definition may vary as well. So take a moment to consider what self-love means to you. So 2 years ago, I wrote, being honest with myself, being honest about myself with others, and acceptance to be me unjudged. So as I'm looking at that now, it's like with others and acceptance to be me unjudged. Now that means I won't judge myself and I won't tolerate being judged from someone else. That's very important. So today I wrote, being in the moment without judgment or reaction. Continue to explore and create new ideas and ways to control my racing thoughts and my emotions. And that's just currently what I've been working on because I have new anxiety and I have to like contain that. and the energy in the collective is very, very, very high lately. So I don't care if you're practicing or not. You're experiencing a lot, just like the rest of us are as a collective. It goes into some scenarios. I'm not going to go into there. But I did write down that love is 50-50. And you need to love and be loved and have unconditional love for yourself. And when I think of unconditional love for yourself, I think of my dog. He's no longer with us. He crossed over a year ago. But I think of when he crossed over, and as I was mourning and I was realizing how much I needed him in my life, because he, pets are empaths. They take it in, and they can. For some reason, God created these animals or pets. Specifically, mine was a dog. They create these animals with an abundant amount of like sponge quality for all our shit that either we're not dealing with or that we have it and we're just like, it's just exuding from us, all that extra energy, whether we're healing or trauma. They take it on and they have no questions. Like they got it. They're even chill about it. And I didn't realize that how much of my dog was doing that and how much pets do that until I lost him and started experiencing, anxiety and sadness and depression, not just because he was gone, but because there was a whole bunch of other stuff going on, in my life as well. But I know that helps. I know that having a pet for me helps. And then we got the cat, and that was helping, but she couldn't stay. So that's what unconditional love means, is that type of unconditional love, like not judging yourself, and no matter what kind of day you're having, you make time to give yourself grace and gratitude. Grace for yourself, gratitude for others, gratitude for yourself. So that's like, it's something that I've had to work on, because when I get that way, when I get sad, I realize, right now I would be going to my dog right now, and I can't go to my dog right now. And so what am I going to do? And so I have found really creative ways to kind of replace that that love that that I can't get from him anymore, because he's just here in spirit, So I do have a stuffed animal that looks just like him, that sometimes helps. And then I have a little jar of him. So, and just remembering him, and there's like memories that come up on Facebook. So I'm getting way too much. It's coming up on a year, folks. So you're gonna hear me talk about Nigel more and more and more. Find what I wrote. So it says there was a couple scenarios in the book, and so that the question is in the book on page 7 is find things that make you happy and join groups or similar hobbies and learn to be alone first. And I have that written down here. Read page 7. So I like that part, because learn to be alone first. I think, as a society, and with all the constant demand and the accessibility to be on social media a lot, I'll use that for an example. There's so much, what's the word I'm looking for? There's so much gratification behind it. There's so much instant acceptance and approval and affirmation and attention. And the more we get into that and experience that, we find a need for that. And I have found that I was subject to it too, to the to the Facebook and to the TikTok and to the Instagram and all that. And honestly, I really only look at Facebook for my lives, to connect with customers and friends and family, because some of them I have to. That's how we communicate. And I've really had dialed my phone usage for that entertainment, for that like approval and that attention thing. Now I use it as more of like a business tool, more of like a computer. I use it to create content, and I'm using it for my Oracle card now, and I'm using it to come to you for lives, and I do use the internet. So I think that's where I was going with this is, put the phone down, folks, and find things that are productive. Find things, and this could be something new for some of the newbies that have never even thought about the self-love, principle and practice. And put that phone down and work on things that bring you joy, that are productive, healthy, productive, joyful hobbies, things, different things. Explore if you don't know, and where to begin? Just do whatever feels natural and do whatever feels right. Look within. Those answers will come eventually. I wrote today, being able to appreciate what you already have, and then manifesting what you want you already have. So those two things go hand in hand, I think. So being grateful for what you already have, that helps with self-love, and knowing that you probably already have enough. You probably already have the things that you need. And then by manifesting, there's a science behind manifesting, that you're supposed to imagine that what you want in your life, you already have. Because that's the only difference. Time is in the physical is, what is it, linear? And really, in the spiritual world, it's not, it's the opposite. It's like a spiral. So we are experiencing things, and that's a whole nother topic. But manifest it and imagine it when you are manifesting things, your dreams, your desires, that you already have it. You already have it. You're already experiencing it, because that is legit. Like, that's the only connection. You know, you have to potentially align with your, I can't find the word right now. I also have here, you don't have to sacrifice your life to be a good person. I wrote that a year ago. You don't have to sacrifice your life to be a good person. That's deep. How you treat yourself reflects how you treat others. That kind of goes with, love thy neighbor as thyself. So if you treat yourself with respect, by default, it should be easy to treat others with respect. If you've been practicing and you've been working on yourself. Talk about manifesting in gratitude. Read page 8. Okay, so on page 8, there's some things here. With a strong sense of love for yourself, you may experience, and then there's a bunch of different things that you may experience, like anxiety, criminal behavior, insecurity, stagnancy, suicidal thoughts. So it's really look inside, and that's one of the homeworks, is to circle things. Now, there was some that I was still experiencing currently, but there was some that I was actually able to cross off. So I'm making progress. Yay! Then on the other side, on page 9, it has, with a strong sense of love for yourself, you may benefit from gains in. And there was more that I was able to circle today than I did in 2021. What self-love isn't? I think we talked a little bit about that last week, because I remember it in here. But it's not selfishness. You can't pour from an empty cup. Self-focus is not egocentric. Ultimately, self-focus helps you and others. By you learning how to love yourself, you are actually, by default, accepting others without judgment. Does that make sense? Because you already have so much love for yourself that you already know that, oh, they could be going through this, or they could be going through that. So if you're not going to judge yourself, then by default, you won't be judging others. And, maybe some connections can be made out of those, or deeper connections can be made out of when you don't judge people. That's a hard one for me. I need to work on not judging myself so that I don't judge others. I need to work on that. Okay, let's talk about this next one is roadblocks. And I'm going to be talking a lot about this, and then hopefully we'll get into part of some of the assignments for chapter 2. But there was a lot of that I wanted to reiterate in chapter 1. So roadblocks, bad habits, familiar with what's convenient and comfortable, fear. Roadblocks currently now, my anxiety, a job that I do not love, racing thoughts, and depression. And they say you need to be open and honest with yourself when you prepare for this self-love journey. I wrote down open-minded, consistency, making time for this project, support, control, time and patience, pen and paper, and listening to myself. Hello, Ron Schmidt. So there are 7 segments of the self-love, and we're going to be talking a lot in going into detail, because I have made a little handy dandy word play here that is easy to remember, these 7 these 7 segments of self-love. Before I get into that, there was something I wanted to talk about back here on page 8. Self-loving lifestyle. Oh, okay, page. So the first part of getting into the self-love is, and this is like, if you don't take anything away from the whole workbook or the book or anything else, there are like 3 important things that I wrote down here that came to me intuitively while I was reading the book. Recognizing your worth, recognizing your needs, and recognizing your limits. Those 3 things. I'll say them again, write them down. Recognizing your worth, and that is through awareness, becoming aware, looking within, being mindful of what is going on inside, what is going on around you, your behavior. Recognizing your worth, recognizing your needs. And I don't know what that word is. I wrote it kind of fast. Impressions? I don't think that's the word. I'm going to come back to that. Recognizing your needs. So when you're finding, and maybe part of this self-love for you guys watching, is writing down what your needs are. Write them down. Write down what your needs are. Then write down which ones can you meet yourself. Which ones can't you meet yourself? And which ones, and what are your hard yeses and nos? And that's and then recognizing your limits. Like, what is your limit? If you don't have this particular thing in your life, like, what are your limits? What are you willing to accept and not accept with yourself and others? And taking responsibility and accountability and choosing when to put yourself first. And I think that's the hardest part of self-love, is we start looking in and we start realizing like how much we're not giving ourselves, how much we're, relying on others to fill our cup. And yes, it goes without saying, you need to be loved, and you need to love and to be loved. But there's, I'll use the word like codependency. There's a lot going on there that, some of this stuff, is it functional? Is it the fundamentals? Is it the basics? Or are there things that truly you need, but you realize, hey, I can do this myself. And I've been like not giving myself what I could be giving myself this whole time. So that's what I mean by taking responsibility and accountability when choosing to put yourself first. Sometimes there will be friends or family members that you start to put boundaries in that might not like that. They might not like that you are choosing self-love. They might not accept that they're not your number one, and that you're not dropping whatever it was just for them. And eventually, when you stop giving that kind of attention to them, those friends, or so-called friends, or coworkers, or family members, hopefully they'll get the point. And, then those are the relationships where you're like, oh, this was all based around like me pleasing them. I've had it happen in my life recently. So there is a quote. It says, read and talk about the quote on page 11. Obstacles in self-love. There are obstacles in everything, folks. Your task is to not seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Now that just kind of reiterates what I just said about spending so much time realizing that there are some things that you need to meet yourself first. You need to meet that. There are certain needs and certain things in your life that another person might not ever be able to do for you. And that's just by being human, you know. Some things we have to do on our own. And if you are on the opposite side of the people pleaser and you are like you're dependent on people to do that for you, that's a hard bitch slap. It really is hard to admit that, but it's possible. And it can like totally transform your life if you just kind of get to that perspective where you're like, wow, I don't really need that person to do that for me anymore. And I feel so good about doing it myself, so why would I want somebody else to do it? You know, certain things like that. But I'm going to reiterate again, you need to love and be loved. So obstacles. I'm just going to read through. If you're really interested in reading page 11 and 12 and 13, 14 and 15, that's where we're at. So some of the obstacles, abuse, comparisons, mental illness, danger. Those are some of the things that you might run into that are going to stop you in your tracks from allowing yourself to love yourself. The longer and more powerful history of these obstacles, the possibility, the harder it can be to get through them. But it does not mean it's impossible. It's just going to take more effort. It's going to take a little more time to find out what works and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Talk about the basic fundamentals in life. I think we already talked about that. So there was a part in the book that talked about like if your fundamentals in life aren't being met, like if you don't have a job and you're struggling with food and shelter, of course self-love is not going to be a priority. So you need to think about your priorities first before you can actually start working on loving yourself. And that's a hard thing too. Write down your priorities. Write down your priorities and the needs and the goals, and then you can actually kind of get your mindset with going, okay, I'm not even in the mindset right now to even practice the self-love to the standard and to the extent that I need right now, because I'm having a hard time just functioning in my day-to-day life. And I know there's people out there like that struggle with just the basic fundamentals of being a human. Priority first. Talk about page 13. I wrote down, what do you need to prepare prior to embarking on this journey? An open mind, consistency, support, control, time and patience, pen and paper, and listen. Listen to yourself. Listen to your heart. Oh, the 7 segments. Okay, that's where we are. The 7 segments. There are 7 segments. In the chapters that follow, you will travel through the 7 segments of self-love. And before you delve into the deeper reflection, take a moment to consider where you believe you are in each. So there's 7 of them. I'm going to read each one first. Self-awareness, self-exploration, self-care, self-esteem, self-kindness, self-respect, and self-growth. And on page 15, I'm going to have you guys look at this. So if you don't have the book, draw a little flower like this, or you can even just use lines, or do like an outline, or like a bullet holes are fine. So there are 7 petals of this self-love, and the flower is labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they each have the 7 segments. So what I did is I took the self-awareness and I kind of broke it down with what it's just like a short brief description of it is. If you're following along in the book, please take the time to read from the book to yourself what 1 through 7 means, okay? But for the book and for time purposes, I'm gonna shorten it, okay? So the number 1 petal is self-awareness. And basically it's recognizing how you behave. And I want you to gauge it or give it a number. So from 1 to 5. So with 1 being that that's at the lowest, and how you gauge it, and then 5 being the highest. Okay, and this is your present state. All right, so be in the moment, present state. And then there's 35 points, and then when we're going to add them all up, and then you're going to gauge where you're at based on how many kind of points you got. Okay, so number 1, self-awareness, recognizing how you behave. So when you do that, look up over at page 14 and read the number 1. I'll read the number 1 just to get us started. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize who you are, how you influence the world, and how the world influences you. Self-awareness encompasses your ability to attune to and take accountability for your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Okay? So number 2 is self-exploration. That is the willingness to do some shadow work. And how are you doing that? Are you not doing it at all as number 1? Or are you doing it to where it's a priority in your life? So that's the 1 through 5 that you need to gauge it. All right. If you've followed me, you know that I speak of shadow work. And shadow work is basically going in and looking at yourself and looking at what's going on. Why is it going on? How long has this been going on? Is it from my past? Is it trauma? And then look at how you can start resolving that. What you can learn by looking inward. And chances are, like, people they just get scared. They get scared because they have to start thinking about what has happened to them. And if it's trauma, it's very traumatic, and you can actually start experiencing those feelings and emotions that you did when this particular event happened. I can vouch for that. It's very, very painful, but I had to get through it because there was more for me to do, but I had to heal the inside in order to, like, help heal the outside. So that's what I mean by shadow work. 3 is self-care, how you treat and reward yourself. Do you not allow yourself self-care? Do you not allow yourself to have massages or fun things, or buy yourself gifts, or go on vacations, or take days off, or, you know what I mean? However self-care. That's another great assignment to branch from this, is make a list of, like, all the things that self-care means to you. 4, self-esteem, owning your power. And we talked a lot about that, about some of the needs that you can meet on your own, owning your own power. Number 5 is self-kindness, not shaming or downgrading yourself. Because if you do that, and people hear you do that, then you're able to do that to them. And so it's a really good practice to start practicing, like, really catch yourself when you're being negative about yourself, and then go, oh shit, I have to reverse that, you know. I struggle with that because we're all out there, and we all kind of, as women, we kind of are body shaming ourselves, you know, and my body has really taken a different transformation in the past year, you know. And so I have to kind of get out of that headspace and go, like, this is my body. It still provides, it still is eating, it's still breathing, it's still sleeping, it's still walking, you know, it's still functioning on, you know, like a 9 out of 10 scale. So I can congratulate my body for doing what it needs to be doing. 6, self-respect, sticking up for your beliefs and values and keeping set the boundaries. That is a good one. So many times I think that allows, like, the people pleaser part. We don't allow ourselves to say no, and no is a full sentence. Or we don't allow ourselves, you know, that goes with the self-care. Say yes to yourself, you know, and say no to other people that are expecting you to always be there for them, no matter what. And there are some times when you just have to say, you know what? I am not available for you right now. I can't be there mentally available for you. I can't be physically there for you. I can't be financially there for you. I can't do it for you today. And they have to understand that. Otherwise, they're not a very good friend if they can't, they're not practicing self-love on their end if they're expecting you to be there when you're not on your game, you know. Number 7, self-growth. This is a constant priority, and I enjoy a part of it in my life. That's what I wrote down. So self-growth, I'm going to read that last part. Self-growth is the continual process of seeking opportunities to learn, love, and thrive. All right, so I did a fun thing because I was doing this outside and I was sitting in the sun, and there's a part on, let's see, oh, that's on 18. We're moving too fast. So what I did is I took, because I wanted an easier way to remember these 7 segments of self-love. And so I came up with like a little wordplay. And I wrote down the word receive. So RECEIVE. And that has, so each one, not in particular order, but each one of these letters is going to represent something that represents the 7 segments, okay? So the self-awareness segment I put down as a R, and that's to recognize. Recognize your behavior. 2 is self-exploration. I wrote down E and I put an explore. That's self-explanatory. Start exploring yourself. Asking yourself those hard questions, taking that inventory. C is for self-care, and I wrote down care. Start making a list of all the things that you like to do and how often you do them, and how often you allow yourself to do them, and how you're going to start making more time in your life to do those things, all right? The 4th one is self-esteem, and I wrote down esteem. Self-esteem is the result of how you view your overall self. How do you feel about yourself? Write down, try to start like a self-gratitude list, and try not to write down anything that you don't like about yourself. Only the things that you like about yourself and that you wouldn't change, all right? That's a good assignment. That's a good little shadow work. Let's see. So then I skipped and I kind of changed 5 and 6 around just because of the way that the word receive. So I is integrity. And that I used as the self-respect. Because if you have integrity, I believe that you can respect yourself. And if you respect yourself, you know how that feels inside, and you are able to respect others. So then I took the self-kindness part, and that is the V, and that's a value. Because if you are kind to yourself, then you find value in yourself. And if you can find value in yourself, it's easier to find value in others. And so those two kind of go together, kind of mean the same thing. And then the last one is number 7 is self-growth. And I changed that to, that's an E. And so I wrote down evolve, because we need to evolve constantly, and we need to learn how to transform ourselves into the very next perfect version of ourselves, and to meet our highest potential. All right. So that was my little thing. So receive, recognize, explore, care, esteem, integrity, value, evolve. That's how you receive self-love. So that was my little project I did today. Oh, so then what I want you to do is then out of those gauges that you did for the 7, add up what you have. And from 0 to 8, I put this book is definitely for you. You're in the right spot. From 8 to 17, I put you need to find more time to do this kind of thing, whether, for yourself. 25, keep applying what works. if your points are between 25, and then if your points are from 25 to 35, you're doing great, and you should start teaching how to do this as well. All right, so there is so much in chapter 2. I really don't even know like what's most important. I'm just gonna, it's self-awareness. So is that what we're gonna do? We're gonna do the 7 segments? Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so the chapter 2 is actually the number 1 of self-awareness. Okay, that I get this. It's been 2 years since I did this, you guys. So I'm gonna try to find a I'm going to try to find a homework for you because there's like a million in here. Chapter 14 or chapter 2 goes from page 14, and we have 10 minutes, so I want to pull one more card before I wrap this up. There is so much in here. I'm just trying to find a good homework, so give me a minute. That's what feedback. Okay, so I gotta look again. Okay, this one's kind of about emotions. Emotional exploration. So I'm gonna start out with probably the easiest one. Okay, this is good. So on page 16, it has explore your thoughts, feelings, and desires in this very moment. So you can take time after this live and read page 16 and do that assignment. Or you can read through all of chapter 2 or skim and then come back to it. Or maybe as you're kind of going through the scenarios, you kind of want to jump ahead and do something different. But I'm going to recommend that you start out with maybe the easier one is on page 16. Then there's a really, really good one on page 17. And being able to recognize your emotions or how you're feeling in any given moment is a strength and a key part of self-awareness. For example, if you can pinpoint when you feel overwhelmed, you can be empowered to tend to your self-care. The inability to be cognizant of your feelings inhibits your capacity to understand and love yourself. Here are 100 feeling words to help you explore your emotional experiences in the activities provided throughout the book. So, what I want you guys to do is, this is kind of what just came to me, is on page 17. And if you don't have the book and you want to do this particular homework, please either comment on here or private message me after, okay? So there are 100 feelings. And what I'd like you to do is, first of all, I want you to read each one. Then I want you to go back again. And I want you to put like a cross or underline it when you have felt these. Okay? And then I want you guys to put on what you want to feel more of, because that's what it's all about. So, and then, okay, there was one more thing. Okay, I want you guys to put a physical sensation next to these emotions, because we are a physical body and a spiritual being. So I want you to, you don't have to do all of them, just kind of find the ones that you know you've experienced or that you want to experience, and how either that felt in your body or how you would like it to feel in your body. And maybe just by going through like the first, 10, you'll be like, yep, I know what that feels like in my body. Because then when you are going through these emotions and you kind of, for me, I'll get a physical sensation before I actually get the emotion. And I have to kind of pause and go, number one, I have to go, I'm an empath, so I have to go, is this me? or is this someone else? And usually it's through kind of anxiety, where I'll get like kind of like I just had too much coffee, like I just, you know, or otherwise I'll get like a headache or a sticky throat, or you know, tingly in my extremities. So there are different sensations in the body associated with our emotions. So that's what I want you guys to do, is to get, and that's part of self-awareness, is just kind of dialing in on how you have felt in your body when you have felt these emotions. Okay, it will help going forward. It'll help you become more self-aware and be able for you to pause before you get to decide how you want to react before you actually react and then regret it. All right. Okay. Then on page 18, it says, take a moment to tune into your emotions in this very instant. How do you feel? Okay. And I wrote down anxiety or lack thereof expression. Wow. And I think that was, that was today. In general. Okay, there are a lot of other assignments and things to do, but next week we will go over that, and then we will go more into depth with the other the chapter. I will and then we'll talk about chapter 3, which is self-exploration. Let me look. Yes, so there is a lot in this first book. There's a lot of assignments, people. Yeah. Okay, so that's your assignment. Oh, and then if you do read, and there are some of you that will, I know I will probably go through the whole chapter. There's a part on page 34, self-awareness reflection. So I want you to, it starts like on page 33, but then if you don't do any more, just skim through the book, read the whole book, but make sure you do this last page on 34. Because you know I'm all about journaling. All right, we're going to pull a card. And we're going to pull a card from the Shaman's Deck. I hope that you guys will watch this on replay. Maybe Sunday night is not the best night. But it is for me, because I'm already doing a Wednesday night live. And Wednesday night is Capricorn. Wednesday night is Capricorn. So maybe once we get done with the zodiac signs, maybe we will speed the self-love up and do one on Wednesday and one on Sunday. I don't know. I kind of like to have my Wednesdays as just kind of like shoot from the hip, kind of pull cards kind of thing. And I know that summer's here, so it's hard to be inside when it's so nice. All right. Okay. This is for the collective, who's ever watching. Aw, Joyful Muse, look at. I was talking about kitties and dogs and pets. Joyful Muse, inspiration. I like that. Look at his goggles or glasses or eyes have like butterfly wings. What's screaming out at me now is like, once you like allow yourself to be inspired and get the inspiration juices flowing, like there's nothing you can't see. And that's like, for me, that's a true, because like when I'm inspired, when I get something, it's like I got tunnel vision. Like I have to make this. I have to like see it in true form, because it's like here in my brain, and then I want to build it and make it or whatever, and I want to see it done so I can appreciate it, because I made that. The number is 33, or 3 plus 3 is 6. So that's what that means to me. Find something joyful, whether it's music or building something or painting something. This goes back to getting off the frickin' phones. Find something productive to do, folks. Even if it's just sitting there in nature and just watching birds go by. You don't even have to be really doing. That is production. That is productive. Because you are in the moment appreciating God's gift. You are God's gift. Oh! Bird feeder just fell down. I'm going to read from the book. And then I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to say thank you for watching or replay. The Joyful Muse invites you to be more playful, to have more mirth and joy in your life. You have become boring to yourself even as others continue to find you interesting. Circumstances have dulled your edge and it's time to change. Not the things around you, but your attitude. Blow a morning kiss to yourself in the mirror. Smile to a stranger. Wink to a child. Be mildly but elegantly inappropriate. Oh, I like that. Mildly but elegantly inappropriate. Is that like classy and sassy? I like that. The Joyful Muse is a source of inspiration, a wild and disruptive feminine force that compels you to invite more pleasure and delight into your life. Give yourself permission to be mischievous and find the humor in the tragedy while careful not to become frivolous. The power of this muse will shake up everyone around you and invite you to create beauty and grace out of the pain and tragedy you perceive in areas of your life. The Joyful Muse often comes at a time when darkness prevails and the future seems dour. Embrace your gifts, being playful without being silly. Invite the child inside you to come out for a play date, and he or she will help you to return to your innate innocence. The place of never been there, never done that, even if it is the same routine you wake up to every morning. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, folks, I'm wrapping it up. I'm saying goodnight. Thank you for watching. And you have your assignment for next Sunday. So if anybody needs like a snippet from the book, if you don't want to buy the book and you want to do a couple of those assignments, please reach out to me and then we can communicate through private messenger and I can get them printed off for you. Or you can print them off yourself. I can send them to you and you guys can print them off. So, all right. Thanks for watching, folks. Good night.